Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, I'm doing another Q&A video where I take your questions from Twitter and I answer them all in this video. Now, in today's Q&A, we've got a ton of questions, all of them focused on what's coming up next in Grand Theft Auto Online in December, the importing and exporting DLC. Now, as always, if you want to get your question possibly featured in the next video, all you have to do is go down in the description, follow me on Twitter, and anytime I'm looking for Q&A questions, just use the hashtag AskBoss, and you might find yourself featured in the next video. But of course, out of the way, let's not waste any more time and let's get it started. All right, so by far one of the biggest questions I had regarding this DLC was, is this going to be one of the best money-making opportunities? How much money do you think we're going to be able to make? What are the payouts going to be like for these missions? And it's going to be hard to tell, at least for right now. We don't have a ton of information on this update, but we know it's going to be connected to finance and felony, and Rockstar in their newswire said that there was going to be big profits involved by doing these missions. So I would imagine the payouts would probably be similar to what's on finance and felony in terms of doing the CEO buying and selling crates. If you guys are still concerned that might not be enough for you, I am once again working with App Bounty. I've been working with them for the past few weeks. You guys really seem to like them. I'll leave a link to the app in the description as well as my discount code where you can actually get 50 free credits. Basically, with App Bounty, you just download and play apps. You earn credits, which you can turn into Xbox and PSN cards, and that's what I do. I do that and I get shark cards, and it's super easy that way. A lot of the apps are really fun, sort of mindless games you can play when you're just trying to kill time, or maybe you're waiting on something to get done and you've got a couple minutes to pass the time. This is a great way in which you can earn money when we can't be playing Grand Theft Auto Online. I know we can't be connected to our Xbox One and our PS4 or our PC all the time, and you can use the time that you're not to possibly earn some free shark cards by simply just downloading and playing some very simple apps. I've been using it for a couple weeks now. It's super easy. Like I said, whenever I have just a little bit of free time, I'll open the app, download one or two, and then boom, easy credits right there. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. Please be sure to check it out if you want to. They've been working with me for a couple weeks now, and I've been really happy with that. But circling back to the payouts regarding importing and exporting, I also think it's going to vary based off of the way the mission is done. Kind of similar to the CEO crates, where if you delivered a certain number, that you might get a percentage. So if you did like 10 of 15, you would get 66% of the payout. Well, I wonder if it's going to be different based on the number of cars you sell, or the condition they're in, or how much damage you receive. Once again, there's a lot of unanswered questions here that we just won't know until Rockstar provide more information, or when the DLC itself eventually does come out. All right, moving on, we have another question from Nino Small, who tweeted me, what special vehicles do you think we'll be getting in this new content update? So Rockstar described the special vehicles as ones that would cause mayhem and destruction in online. So I would imagine they would be something along the lines of those. If you guys go back to my video earlier in the day, we talked about some leaked vehicles that could be coming out in this update, like a giant Phantom big rig truck with the wedge on the front. We've obviously got the amphibious vehicles, the Kit Knight Rider. I imagine the special vehicles are going to be, very unique versions of Pegasus vehicles that are going to have some special features to them, like armor plating or the wedges on the front. We've already seen one of them, which is the ramp dune buggy. So when you think special vehicles, think crazy, outrageous, out of this world, kind of similar to the Tron bike, how it doesn't really fit the theme of online, a little bit futuristic, unrealistic. So just keep that in mind when you think of the special vehicles. They're likely going to be Pegasus vehicles as well, so keep that in mind that we'll probably won't be able to store them. We'll just have to spawn them into the game. Now, speaking of Pegasus vehicles, that's a great segue into our next question, which comes from Captain, who says, will we be able to sell Pegasus vehicles in this update? Now, that is a great question, because if we are getting a ton of special vehicles that cost $5 million, one of the vehicles is that Knight Rider that's supposed to be $5.7 million. Other ones are rumored to be $1 to $5 million. Doesn't it seem slightly unfair that we can't sell them, that we're stuck with that purchase for the rest of our lives? Kind of like how the yachts were, where once you bought them, there was no returning them. So yes, I really do hope Rockstar will introduce the ability to sell Pegasus vehicles in this update, but it's something they haven't done for 3 years, so I'd be hard-pressed to believe that something like that will actually be coming out. Joker Killa V2 says, when do you think the Christmas DLC is going to be released? So the prediction for the release date of the DLC is December the 13th, which is a couple Tuesdays from now. So I would imagine that the Christmas DLC would then release a week after that, maybe on the 20th of December. I don't know. To me, that seems like it would be the most likely thing. It's about a week away from when the original content releases, but it's still a couple days from the Christmas holiday date itself. So Joker, to me, that timeline makes the most sense. But once again, we're just going to have to wait and see what Rockstar is ultimately going to do with that. Our next question comes from Gavin, who says, with this update, do you think we will get more options in Benny's if we do use the cars in there? Well, luckily, Gavin, there's a huge rumor that there's going to be a lot of Benny's vehicles, as I talked about in my video earlier, coming in this update. And I would imagine that, yeah, there might be some new options, especially if they add more sports cars and supercars. We saw stuff like that when the two previous Benny's vehicles came into the game, that being the Banshee 900R and the Sultan RS. They obviously had so many different features from the lowriders, so I would imagine we will get something very, very similar with that, and hopefully we do get some new options. I'm not sure what that could be. One of the rumored ones is nitrous, or an NOS system that could be applied. Now, that might be a little bit tricky, but I still think that could be super awesome to have in Grand Theft Auto Online, so we will have to see what Rockstar have up their sleeve as far as what they're going to be doing in Benny's. Our next question comes from Mad Zingu, who tweets at me, when do you think we'll see a trailer for the import/export update? Hopefully sometime this week, Mad Zingu. The current event week ends on Wednesday, so that means on Thursday, Rockstar would have nothing to announce, and it'll likely be on that date that's when they'll do either a trailer, maybe some more information, but who knows? Maybe in the next day or two, we could see something from Rockstar. I'm really not too sure, but I would imagine that sometime this week, we will see either more information, screenshots, or a trailer regarding this update. Up next, we have a question from Knife Guy, who tweets at me, do you think they will release the cargo plane online with the upcoming import-export DLC or freight ships? Now, that is an awesome question, and one that I think would be so cool. So, obviously, we know right now the cargo plane not available in online. The only way to get it is to mod it in, and I think this would be awesome if this was a way to export vehicles out of Los Santos, either in a giant cargo plane or loading them on a giant freighter ship, kind of the same one that Nico Bellic came to Grand Theft Auto 4 in, with those giant cargo crates and shipping containers and whatnot. That would be so cool, because the traditional way of just getting them out to a client by land might get a little bit boring after all. So I would love to see it if Rockstar switch things up. Hopefully they introduce some vehicles we haven't seen in online, like the cargo plane, freight ships, etc. Up next, we have a question from Christmas Jet, who tweets at me, do you think there will be any new CEO offices in the new update? If so, where do you think they would be? A really good question. We know that this DLC is going to be an extension of Finance and Felony and the CEO system, so I would imagine that maybe Rockstar could introduce some new offices, because right now there's only, 4 in the game, which isn't a whole lot, and Rockstar knows a lot of people are going to be playing this update, which means a lot of people are going to be going to the same offices, but it does kind of beg the question, where would they put them? They used all the tallest buildings in the game. They're not going to use the IAA building. They're not going to use the FIB building, so I'm not really too sure where they would go. There's a possibility they might introduce some smaller CEO offices into the game. Maybe they would be at a cheaper price. I know that would make a ton of people happy if they could buy, let's say, a $500,000 office or something like that, as compared to the more expensive ones, which are obviously over $1 million. Our next question comes from SWTX, who says, do you think Simeon would be involved in the import-export DLC? I actually think Simeon could be our rival, because Simeon is in the low-end vehicle importing and exporting business, and now we're about to jump into the high-end business. Honestly, the contact I could see us using the most from single player would be Devin Weston, with Simeon being our rival. But who knows? We might use Simeon. He might upgrade himself and, go from the used car dealership to one of those super executive CEO offices with us. That would be pretty funny, because Simeon's one of my favorite characters, but Devin Weston's one of my favorite characters too, so either way, I wouldn't be complaining. Our next question comes from Sour Limes, who tweets at me, how many customization options for the garages do you think we will get? So Sour Limes, I would imagine we will get just about as many as we did for the executive offices, which I think was 9, and then for the penthouse apartments, I think there was 8 total options, so I would say somewhere around there, 8 to 10 would probably be your best bet. I would imagine they were going to do some luxurious ones, some grungy ones, some normal, regular looking ones, some civilian looking ones. I'm not really too sure, but I love the fact that Rockstar is finally adding garage customization into the game. That's a feature that we've wanted for a long, long time. Unfortunately, the only thing that I'm worried about here is going to be the price in order to get some of this garage customization, as I know that it's going to be pretty expensive. Up next, we have a question from Namikaze, who tweets me, do you think that with the info we got so far, that this Finance and Felony Extension DLC is going to be one of the biggest of all time? Absolutely. I think this is going to be a huge DLC, especially if you're a big fan of cars. Now, it might be limiting in terms of weapons and in terms of some other things, but I'm very very, very excited for what Rockstar is going to be offering here, and I think this might be one of the biggest updates we see so far. And our final two questions are kind of a two-parter, so I'll answer them back to back. This first one comes from Cayenne, who tweeted to me, how do you feel about a $5.7 million car, and do you think more cars in the future will cost this much? I'm skeptical on the leak so far. I want to believe it, but at the same rate, I am kind of holding back judgment. He's talking about that $5.7 million like Knight Rider style vehicle. So again, I think that that is going to be very expensive. It will all depend on what the car or the vehicle itself will do. And as far as vehicles in the future, I don't know. I feel like this DLC is like a very one-off expensive update, really because all the vehicles we're dealing with seem to either have a lot of customization or are rare or unique in some way. So that will be very interesting. I don't think they will cost that much in the future, but this update is definitely going to be very expensive. And that's a great segue into our final question from Dave, who says, what will be the most expensive thing in this Grand Theft Auto Online DLC? So Dave, I don't know, but your question was asked a ton. So many people asked, how much money are we going to need for this update, that I think I'm going to have to make an entire dedicated video to it. I mean, nearly 60% of the questions were for that one topic, and there'd just be way too much for me to try and break down in this Q&A video. I'd have to go over confirmed information, unconfirmed information, so I think we're going to be saving that for a future date. And along with that video, I will be announcing that I'm probably going to be doing a shark card giveaway to help you guys out as well. But anyways, that's all the questions that we're going to be tackling in this week's Q&A video for the upcoming importing and exporting DLC in Grand Theft Auto Online. If you want to get featured in the next Q&A video, all you got to do is go down in the description, follow me on Twitter, use the hashtag AskBoss whenever I'm looking for Q&A questions, and you might find yourself featured in the next video. If you did go on to enjoy this one, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And also, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.